Market crash or adjustment. I'm going to talk about whether to call this current market as a market crash or a market adjustment. Hi, I'm Amol Heda with Keller Williams Bay Area Estates and author of Thriving Through Ownership. I was browsing on LinkedIn the other day, and one of the readers on LinkedIn made a comment about why people are calling this as a market adjustment. And there are too many people talking about this as a market adjustment. And so I decided to make this video. The reason I'm making this video is because the language we use, the words that we put in front, will help us decide. Our decisions are based on what we tell ourselves. And that's why I decided to do this video. So we always hear in the news media, oh, the market is crashing. That's not entirely true, and that's not how it is. Now let's first analyze why the news media does what it does. The news media, if you watch in the evening, you will see, oh, that car hit a pole, there was a robbery here, there was a homicide there, and that's news. Does anybody on the news say, oh, I reached home or I had dinner? Those are non-consequential. They happen every day to everyone in their home every time. So typically the news media picks up on extreme news. Either it's extreme successes, extreme failures, or extreme events. So you watch floods, tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes. Those are the things that make news. So if they were to say this is the market adjustment, you probably would not even turn your TV on. So that's the reason why the media wants it said that way. Now let's try to understand what exactly we mean by a crash. When the market crashes, the investors and the individuals, the masses, they all lose confidence. So suppose you were to be told that a bank is going to go down, or just now look at what is happening with FTX. Everybody will be in the line to get their money out. So that's what is a market crash. They just lose faith. It's not that there is going to be no tomorrow. Everybody knows that there will be a tomorrow. But people just withdraw their money from the market. And when that happens, it affects the asset values like the stock market prices, the home values, and such. Generally, these happen because of extraneous circumstances. So the two that I have seen during my experience that explicitly, the one in 2001, after 9/11 happened, we saw the effect much more pronounced here in the Bay Area because it was labeled as a tech crash. Technology was the reason why it was bloated so much, and then it suddenly came down, and that's why the market adjusted. The triggering reason was 9/11. But I like to quote that irrational exuberance that Ben Bernanke used during his term on the Fed. It's typically the irrational exuberance that causes this. And we have all heard of the fact that there is a market crash after every 10 years. So there are 10-year cycles is what people say. So those 10-year cycles are caused by irrational exuberance, and then it gets corrected, and then we come down, and then we march on to the next peak, right? So job losses, stock market crashes, those are the typical reasons when people lose faith and they just take all their money off and the asset valuations changed. So in 2001, what happened was that dot-com valuations had risen past the irrational exuberance point. And then it needed a triggering reason, which is what 9/11 offered. And when that happened, the market tanked or the asset values dipped, and it had an impact. And then the Fed started reducing the rates. When I bought my first condo in 2000, I paid 8.25% 5-year ARM. And then when I sold my condo at about 40% appreciation, the interest rate had gone down to the fives. And I used to feel, bam, 5 is a cheap number because I had seen the 8.25. And then 2007 happened when the interest rates kept on going lower and the lending practices became very loose. And that caused that irrational exuberance on the real estate side. And that is why they label that not as a stock market crash, but as a real estate crash, because the real estate was extremely heavily valued because of looser lending practices. And once Lehman got crushed under it, the market started correcting. And that was a huge correction. But remember, that correction happened after 1934. The last correction on the market of that magnitude was in 1934, after the World War II. So from that point to 2009, it was almost 84 years. That's how long that run lasted. Of course, there were some small 10-year cycles that people saw, but that was almost an 85-year-old cycle. And that is why it cut in that deep. Now that's what we should call as a crash. Because every house that was being sold, the next house would come in lower. The next house would come in lower. And the next house would keep coming lower. And I have bought properties at like 20% or 25% of their peak 2007 prices during that period, right here in the Bay Area. So that's what I call it as a crash. I am in support of calling this time the price adjustment as a adjustment, because what happened in 2022 was because of COVID, the government stepped in, threw in liquidity, brought the interest rates to a crazy low, which pushed the asset prices to a severe high. And once those asset prices were that high, there was no other way for them but to come down. So when the interest rates are now adjusted completely high, the asset prices, the home values will come down. The stock market is also adjusting, but the stock market is adjusting because the interest rates are high, so the projected incomes are going to be lesser, because they don't have the same cheap money that they had last year. And people had crazy good incomes. Even though they were home, they were getting a paycheck of $3,600. So the economy, because of COVID, was a consumption story. A lot of money floating around in the market. And so we saw the asset prices get bloated. And from there, now the asset prices are adjusting to the regular markets. And that's why I call this as an adjustment. People used to call the peak just 6 months back crazy. And I used to tell even then, we as professionals should not use the word crazy. We should in fact have a model to explain why the prices are high. And that's what I just did. Now, if you understand why those prices were high and why the prices are lower now, you should be in a better position to make your call about real estate. Additionally, let me tell you, at this point in time, the economy is without any job losses. We are seeing a very strong job market. We don't have high unemployment. We have strong inflation. In 2009 and in 2002, if you went and looked, the gas prices were lower. Inflation was very much in control. Inflation was never in the 8% in the last 40 years. So, what I am saying is that this time, what the prices are doing and what the market is doing and what the Feds are doing is an adjustment. It's not a crash. At least I think this way. What do you think? Do you think this is a crash, or will you agree to say that this is an adjustment? Please comment below. And if you think you like this video, please share with your friends. Please subscribe and click on the bell button. If you like this, you will get more of these. Thank you. Bye.